tar en stund här. Du kan gå in där igen och hör det är dubbel röst. Du kan nog stänga av det. Nu har vi någon gäst.
Someone here is now streaming live on YouTube. Setting up redirecting. So we're here live, Captain Future Show, late night musing. It's now 4:30 p.m. a.m. Early morning for some, or very late night for someone like me. I'm a very late night owl sometimes, so I can stay awake, keeping focus late at night. There's this. It's now here. So we're doing all the technical parts. I'm here in the studio late night. Stellan is here, sleepwalking with me. He will take the morning pass after me. I will go to bed after this pass, and I will turn up later at noon or something like that. So, but it's been fantastic day so far with live streaming. So many amazing episodes, and we're doing this as an experiment. How can we share our knowledge and bring people together, talking about what's important right now in the time of crisis? It's a global crisis. It's the first global crisis since we are really global crisis. We had some Second World War or something like that in this scale, at least. We have crises and stuff like the ozone layer and stuff like that that we solve together. But this is like on an entirely new level. We don't know where it's going to go yet, but we're human beings. We're curious. We're innovative. We're problem solvers. We're going to solve this, even if there's going to be a lot of suffering and stuff together like this. But somehow we'll make it work, because that's what we do. And the alternative of not making it work, it's not something that either I or all the people I'm knowing will stand for. So that's what we do. So this is going to be a late night musing here by Captain Future. I don't know what track I'm going to take. I'm practicing the experience of being open, random, and supportive. So I'm going to figure out where and how to take myself in this trip here in the middle of the night in the future here. So everything muted. Phone. I have a computer and set in the studio here and everything. And I'm going to take a picture as well. So. Are you with me, TM? TM, yeah? Late night music by Captain Future. So, hello everyone. The selfie part. I tell stories with selfies and Wi-Fi's. People I meet in places I go. So what else can we talk about? There's a lot of things to talk about. I can go into my life history. I can go into other things here that I'm interested in. This. I have my digital notebook before me with so many things I can go into. The Corona crisis, the emerged quotes. Let's see, just show something random to talk about. Like lessons, love. Yes, yesterday a friend of mine shared an article about Albert Einstein, that later in his life he wrote a lot of letters to his daughter, that in these letters he told her to keep them safe, so that when the world was ready she could publish them. And I think some 20 years after his death or something like that, her daughter took them to an institute that archived them and kept them safe, and also published them in some way. And there is a letter of love that Albert wrote about in the universe and everything. So I'm going to read that letter to you now, if you bear with me. When I proposed the theory of relativity, very few understood me, and what I will reveal now to transmit to mankind will also collide with the misunderstanding and prejudice in the world. I ask you to guard the letters as long as necessary, years, decades, until society is advanced enough to accept what I will explain below. There's an extremely powerful force that, so far science has not found any formal explanation to, is that a force that includes and governs all others and is even behind any phenomenon operating in the universe and has not yet been identified by us. This universal force is called love. When scientists look for a unified theory of the universe, we forget the most powerful unseen force. Love is light and enlightens those who give and receive it. Love is gravity because it makes some people feel attracted to each other. Love is power because it's multitudes the best we have. It allows humanity not to be extinguished in their blind selfishness. Love unfolds and reveals. For love, we live and die. Love is God and God is love. Someone want to join in a bit? Hello, Tiama. I'm just reading a letter from Albert Einstein. The force explains everything and gives meaning to life. This is the variable that I have been ignored for too long, maybe because we are afraid to love, because it's the only energy in the universe that man has not learned to drive at will. To give visibility to love, I made a simple substitution in my most famous equation. Instead of E equals mc2, I accept that the energy and the heat of the world can be obtained for love multiplied by the speed of light squared. We arrived at the conclusion that love is the most powerful force there is because it has no limits. After the failure of humanity in the use and control of other forces of the universe that have turned against us, it's urgent that we nourish ourselves and another with kind of energy. If we want our species to survive, if we want to find meaning in life, if we want to save the world and every sentient being that inhabits it, love is the one and only answer. Perhaps we are not yet ready to make a bomb of love, a device so powerful enough to entirely destroy the hate, the selfishness, and the greed that devastates the planet. However, each individual carries within them a small but powerful generator of love whose energy is waiting to be released. When we learn to give and receive the universal energy, dear listener, I will have affirmed that love conquers all. It's able to transcend everything and anything because love is the quintessence of life. I deeply regret not having been able to express that in my heart, which have quietly beaten for you all my life. Maybe it's too late to apologize, but as time is relative, I need to tell you that I love you, and thanks to you, I have reached the ultimate answer, your father, Albert Einstein. Yes, love. I met some fairly interesting people during the last years of my travel who talks about all things about love and consciousness and stuff like that. And Ray Potter especially gave a fantastic talk at Nordic Future about love, how it connects and unites us all. And in essence, even gravity is a force of love. It's a love of all things for everything else in the universe. That's the attraction of gravity. Even if it's a weak force for every small part of the universe, every atom, it's a large force across the universe. It keeps galaxies together, solar systems together. It makes life on Earth and life in the universe possible, so that we can actually live on a planet, in a solar system, in a galaxy, in a universe. So love in some way is a part of gravity, even if it's not really what Einstein meant in this letter, but somehow, somewhere there. So, and in love, we have to explore much further, because what is it to be a human race on a single planet? We are now so many of us, and so large of us is the footprint and effect of what we do here on the planets, that we can no longer continue to do what we have been doing for 70,000 years, or as long as been human. So we have to explore this aspect of love, of collaboration, of empathy, of doing things together. That is what the most profound thing of being human. How can we explore this to survive on this planet together, or is it in our nature to destroy ourselves? That's the quote from Terminator 2 in 1991 or something like that. It's in, is it in our nature to blow everything off and destroy ourselves, or isn't it? That's what we're gonna explore. We don't know if we have it in us to actually use the force of love to come together in a time of crisis and solve our challenges enough, so that we can build a civilization that really stands the test of time, not just a couple of 100 years we've done now, but 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, 1,000,000 years, several million years. Can we build a civilization that will last so long? Or are we doomed? Is this the reasons why aliens haven't contacted us, that we haven't discovered any sentient life in the universe? The Fermi paradox, that every species that becomes sentient is doomed to destroy itself before it can reach life that will transcend solar systems and galaxies in any way. We don't know, but for the most part of me and myself life, I'm very dedicated to find out, to see what we can do together, to see if we can build a civilization that will stand the test of time. And that requires an entirely new type of civilization, not the types of civilization we've seen before that rise and fall, but this is the one that doesn't fall, that will really stand the test of time. And this is things I'm very, very interested in. So if you're anyway interested in this, please find a way to talk to me, contact me, or other people all around the world talking about this subject. But this is subjects and questions and topics we really need to discuss in a time like this, when we face a global crisis that may or may not disrupt our civilization beyond recognition in any sensible way. So in any case, whatever we do, we can't go back to business as usual in this civilization. So we have to find a new way of organizing us and do things together here, if we want to transcend into this new path into the future, where we explore new ways of collaborating and making a daily life here on planet Earth work for all of us, where we can have food, security, housing, sanitation. I don't know if you're listening, Jacksim, but Jacksim is a fantastic guy I met a couple of years ago. You can find him on Facebook. He's Mr. Toilet. He founded the World Toilet Day and works to bringing sanitation to 2 billion people all over the world that don't have clean water and clean sewage and clean sanitation. And this is one of the most important questions we have to drive and solve together, so that we don't spread diseases and pollute our natural environment around us for practices that is not sustainable on the large scale we human does it. If there were a couple of 100,000 of us humans, the nature wouldn't notice much, but now there's 7 billion of us. So now we have to think very carefully about the system effects we have on our natural systems around us, because we are dependent on natural systems. We can't live in isolation. We need the food and the health and everything that the biosphere and all its system regenerates and flourishes for us, with us, in us. We are part of this. Our body is not human. Our body is mostly microbes and 9/10 of our the cells in our body are not our own. So we are not human. We are a symbiosis with all the microbes inside us. We couldn't live without them. So any foolish idea that we are separate from nature, that's or we're the rational Homo economics, is just silly. We are not that, and we won't survive without the natural systems inside us and around us. That's why going to Mars is going to be a interesting experiment, and even like the International Space Station, where the longest person now have been there for over a year at the time, to see what that really means, because that's not a natural system, and no one will spend too much time there. And there's also life forms that taking a shape of their own in the International Space Station. There apparently some kind of fungus that we can't get rid of that now has evolved to live as a space station fungus. So there's all things going on, and to discover and do all these things, we need a lot of people putting their best minds and their best thoughts together, because we humans really can't think and evolve or evolve on our own. We need to do this in collaboration. So we need a lot more smart people thinking and doing what they do, but even on a grander scale, figure this out. What is it to be human and stuff like that? I have a concept that I call the human endeavor. Maybe I will go into it tonight. What should we talk about? I'm just going to run off. I'll be back in 1 minute. I have to have some water for my voice here. And then I'm going to go into what I call the human endeavor, I think. And I will put on my night mask as well. So I'll see you in 1 minute. So I'm back. I'm Captain Future now. Captain Future back to tell you, talk about the human endeavor. Let's find that. Human endeavor. Here it is. Yeah. So I went to to an event last year in Copenhagen called the C40 Mayors Conference or something, Mayors City Summit or something like that. And I've been thinking about this for many, many years, but there I talked to him and some other people about what is it really to be human, and what are all the things we need to include in thinking about this. So I have no deep expertise in any one subject. Mostly, I am what you call a multi-potentialite, a polymath, a maverick, neo-generalist, a sense maker, stardust explorer, an evolutionary leader, or system entrepreneur, or a crew member and captain of Spaceship Earth. So that's a different title. So I dabble in all things, but I'm very interested in holistic thinking about civilization, society, systems, and stuff like that. I'm a gamer in trait. That's my oldest skill, being a gamer. And I think about whenever I play a game, I think about the meta game behind the game and the systems around that. But I'm no expert in anything. But in that, I try to connect the dots in all the things that all other people are expert in. So maybe I'm an expert in connecting the dots between all other things. And I try to come up with 12 categories that includes most of the things we have to think about and be aware of when we explore what it is to be a human on planet Earth, and what is humanity, and what is our what is, when I say the human endeavor, is that is what is the experiment of of us mammals becoming human. You can see that we humans are an experiment by nature if we can evolve a sentient being without that sentient being becoming too dangerous and destroying nature itself. So let's see if this human experiment, the human endeavor, is something we can continue to doing, as like I said before, build a civilization and an experience to stand the test of time. And in this, I have evolved it in 12 categories. I don't know what order to put them in, but I will go talk about them in the current order I have them now. So part one of being human is what I call wisdom, sense making, science, and curiosity. That is, we humans have the ability to make sense of ourselves, the world around us, and get knowledge. We later discover, let's say, in scientific progress, and we have the ability to transcend our own bodily human aid. We can actually create stories, firstly for oral remembering, but then written stories, and now we have all kinds of techniques, videos like this, podcasts, audio files, records, thanks to digital technology. It's just exploded the way of the knowledge we can store outside our bodies and then transfer to other humans in an unprecedented scale. We can now, if we think carefully, create knowledge that will be around forever, stored for us humans to recall later, or another civilization, maybe if we go away, some other civilization can find in some way. And that is our wisdom, our sense making, and also the skill that makes us what is inside us humans, that go into this curiosity of finding out, never giving up, exploring new knowledge, new ways of understanding and stuff like that. So that this is a category of knowledge and curiosity and science and everything around that, and all the information and wisdom technology we have before us. And it's also part of what I call storytelling. I will go into that later. Maybe I will take that now. No, I will go into that later. And number two is what I call a value-based society. The mere fact that we can create societies as all is that we humans beings, we evolved to take advantage of us becoming experts and specialize in a skill. So if you take a human and put them alone in the forest, they won't survive for long, because they don't have all the necessary skills to survive in a natural environment, to hunt for food, or gather food, or build shelter, and everything we need to do, especially in a harsh environment. So we put the lone human on a Greenland or Iceland, they won't survive for very long at all, naked, no clothes, of course, and nothing. And that's just it. So we evolved to specialize in different skills, and in that I create something value. So if I become an expert in gathering nuts, and you become an expert in hunting rabbits, and someone else becomes an expert of cooking the rabbits, and someone else becomes an expert in baking bread, we can produce a surplus of value. I can bake more bread that I need to, or I can gather more nuts myself than I need myself, and then I can give away my surplus of nuts in exchange for your surplus of bread, and we all better off for it, because we're experts in this. And this is called a value-based society. That this is the very foundation of a tribe or a or what we now scaled up to larger societies and a global civilization, that we're all experts in something that creates value for others. As long as we have a value surplus, more food than we can eat, or more clothes than we can put on, or more knowledge than we can enjoy, or more culture than we can consume. We have what we call a society. As soon as there's not a surplus of value in society, we can't sustain that level of society, that many individuals in a city or a town or in a country or on here on Earth altogether. And in that, we have to think very carefully, what is it that makes this work? Today, some people say it's money that is value. Money have absolutely no value whatsoever. It's just a story we tell to each other. And nobody can eat money. Most people can't dress in money unless you have the skill of sewing them together with a needle and stuff like that. So money is just an accounting system, keeping track of who gets to get what value surprise. So if I have money, I can go to you and say, I want the bread you baked this morning. And so money keeps track of me being enabled to get the bread you baked this morning. But you can also always refuse and say, no, I don't want to give you bread, even if you give me money. But most people don't do that because you want the money to buy the clothes someone else has made, and so on and so on. And in that, it was fairly simple trading models in small markets and towns and villages for many thousands of years. But now we have a very extremely complex society with global supply chains all over the earth, and literally millions of different skills that put together society in a very complex weave or a narrative of what we do together. And there are also a lot of people in society that are parasites that actually don't create society but still get money for doing that. The criminals, for example, they steal other people's value to sell for money and stuff like that. They don't contribute value to society at all. Drug cartels and other organizations, you can, of course, it's very nuanced. You can say that they use drugs that create value for some people, but mostly if you're a hitman or something like that, you take away a lot more value than you create in your daily activities. But as long as we have a surplus of people waking up every morning and going about their business, doing what they do, we call this a job in modern society. This is a modern word and invention. Before we had a couple of hundred years ago, nobody had a job. They had a life. So you didn't go to work and then come home, but you were what you did. Most of the people were farmers. You were a farmer. You didn't have a job of a farmer and then came home from your farming job and didn't do anything. But it was around the clock activity they call a life. And in this value creation and value cycle, we now have the information technology and the science and the storytelling that we can actually start mapping and become aware of all the values each and everyone does on a daily basis. What do I produce value for others, and what value do I use and consume that others do? Do I eat your bread? Do I go to the gym where a gym teacher helps me train? So that's a service. That's also a value creation. And what type of value do I destroy? Do I cut down a tree to do farming? Do I have some toxic waste that I pour into the ocean, or do I put something in my toilet that's toxic waste for human nature? That's a value destruction cycle. This is a very complex conversation, but this is a simple category of value creation, value consumed, and value destroyed that I'm thinking about. This is part of being human. So that's number 2. Number 3 is connected to this. This is what we call talent, skills, unification, lifelong learning, and this. So how do you become an expert in creating this value? You grew up and you as a child, and we teach you the necessary skills that we have invented before. In the old days, it was I teach you how to make fire, so you can teach your children how to make fire. You don't have to invent making fire, but today it's a lot more complex than that. We teach our people, our children, how to behave, how to speak, how to write, how to cook their own dinner, how to take care of each other, and all kinds of things we do. And then we go to our job where we are very specialized in what we do. We go to university or high school or something like that to learn the things we do. We take an apprenticeship course. We become an apprentice at someone already knowing the extra skills that we have to do. In some rare cases, we go out and invent a new way of doing things. And that happens a lot more lately in society. For much of our entire human history, the skills you learned from your father or mother was the skills they learned from their father and mother, and not much changed over the years. But nowadays, so much changes. There's so many new things that we have invented to come up with in society of products and services that wasn't even around 20 years ago or 10 years ago, or in some cases 5 years ago. Even some rare cases wasn't around 1 year ago. So this is skills and talents and knowledge we all involved in, and this includes that we reevaluate what is education, what is lifelong learning, how do we think about all the things we need to know and do in our lifetime. Can we keep learning new things throughout our lifetime or become even better? Of course, in the old days, there was the old master who has spent a lifetime doing one skill and was very, very masterful in a craft or something like that. And we still need these expert masters in craft and lifelong sages who explore only one skill. But many of us have to have hundreds or thousands of skills in our life. We have to be a good parent. We have to be a good spouse. We have to be we can have to cook our own dinner at home. We have to learn a lot of things. But this is a very advanced conversation. How do we facilitate this lifelong journey, lifelong learning story of us? And actually, what we're talking about now when we talk about lifelong learning is a concept like Thomas Björkman talks about. What is it? How do we create, teach wisdom, bildung? How do we get the knowledge of becoming better humans, get to know our emotions, human biases, behavioral patterns, and navigate this well as well. So this is a very large conversation as well, but this is a category we have to be aware of. And then another category I want to talk about is behavioral incentives. It comes back to money, but other things like that. It's things like competition, games, expression, collaboration, all the motivational forces, expression, gathering. There's some scientists doing all kinds of research around intrinsic motivation, external motivation, game mechanics, gamification, all kinds of behavioral pattern that makes us do what we do. Why do I enjoy doing things? Why do I do things that I find boring but still have to do to earn a living or stuff like that? If I did summer work as a sanitation worker in a sanitation plant when I was young, and that's not something I would choose as a career path. But some people do it for money. Some people do it because it's an easy life or something like that. So, but some process in society, we actually have to pay people money to do so. So if being a cleaning person at the sanitation plant is some of the worst things we can come up to in society, why isn't these people earning the most money doing the most horrible work or stuff like that? Because our society is not organized like that, and I won't go into much to that, but there's a lot of science and awareness we have to do of why do we do the things we do? Why do I even get up in the morning? And why do I continue my life? Why don't we all just face the misery and commit suicide? Because there are the motivational forces that keeps us alive even through misery, and we can find meaning in the most horrible way of living in Earth, and that's we come into meaning creation and stuff like that. So it's also a motivational force that we have to become much better at understanding and exploring all the motivational forces and the meaning creation and the finding purpose in your life and stuff like that. This is things I'm very interested. I have a model called Ikigai 4.0 where I explore where you can navigate your own life, motivation, purpose, and meaning. Find motivation, purpose, and meaning of the things you do and the choices you do in your life. Now we have category 5 that I talked about before, the Einstein stuff. That's what I call love, compassion, social capital, unification, collaboration. What is it? What is the thing that makes me love another person, a spouse, a romantic love, or a friendship love, or a group love, or a love like this? What is it that keeps us together? What is empathy? What is compassion? What is it, all this? How do we explore this further? We're just in the cusp of understanding things like this as well. So this is a whole category in itself that is, and all these 12 categories they're all interconnected. So this is connected to motivational forces and stuff like that. But I think this is a very important category because all the skills and knowledge around collaboration, love, passion, empathy, and compassion and stuff like that, that is what keeps society together. And we have to become much better in that. More love, less hate in the world if we have to survive ourselves and stand the test of time. So, I don't know if I'm going to talk much more about that. I know there are many more experts in love and compassion and empathy than me. So another thing that I put into category, that is what I call complexity thinking, system thinking, ontological design, understanding how things are interconnected and what happens when you poke one lever in one part of society, or what comes out in the other, causality and thinking about natural ecosystems and our constructed ecosystems of people, or like what is a transportational system in a city, and how is it all interconnected? I love Nora Bateson's definition of warm data that we humans lately have been focusing so much to get information and data about a selected part of the human endeavor and not connecting with everything else. So we have to become much better to see how every action in our society in some way connected to other actions in our society, and how does that all interplay in the play that becomes daily life and society. And we talked earlier tonight about the difference between simple systems, complicated system, complex system, and chaotic system. The Cynefin framework that Dave Snowden talks about much better than I does about. So that's part of that. And I'm part of the evolutionary leadership community in Oakland, San Francisco, Manuela Manga, and Fjodor, and we talk about ontological design. That every process and every action I do design the world around me, and every happening in the world designs me back. So it's an interplay between me and the world and me. That's called ontological design. It's a very fascinating subject that we can dig deeper. Then we have category 7 that I call leadership, democracy, courage, and opportunities. That I don't know how to group this together, but how do we lead and organize our societies today? Democracy is one model, China has one model, whatever you want to call it. We have had tribal structures for 70,000 years that keeps us together. Who leads the tribe? Who decides who does what? Is it a self-organizing system? Is it a top-down system? Is it a network system and stuff like that? What is a leader? Do I lead in some aspects and follow in others and stuff like that? Do we even need leaders? What is the concept of leading? What does it mean and stuff like that? And in this, I also come together like things we have to be brave and courageous to do. Can I lead and be courageous and do stuff that is daring to me or even dangerous to me? And what does it mean to lead in a crisis situation like the Corona time now, when we had to make very hard decisions, triage? Do I sacrifice this group of people? Do I sacrifice this group of people? Where do we put the suffering? Where do we put the pain on a societal level? And this is hard choices and hard questions we have to ask ourselves around especially in times like this. In all this, we also create opportunities. How do you explore opportunities and possibilities in a system, changing system? That's also part of this. I don't know where to put opportunities, but this is something we have to be aware. Opportunities and possibilities is something we have to be, that's all interconnected to other things, but this is things we have to be aware of and think about. We need experts in each and every field of this, and we need the multi-potentialites and the polymaths that puts all the things that all the experts does together. And the next part I will talk about now, it's what I call celebration, campfire activities, events, happenings. So we humans, we love to celebrate, and we love different ways to what Stephen Butler and Jamie Wheel calls altered states of mind in their fantastic book Stealing Fire. Many mammals seek what they call altered states of mind. It's not just us. There are if animals in the forest can get hand of yeast or alcohol, yeast fruits that produce ethanol or alcohol in some way, they go for it because they create what they call an altered states of mind effect. They change behavioral patterns, thinking patterns inside your brain, and your brain likes it in some way. We don't know why yet, but that's something we explore. Why does the brain like altered states of mind, and all the brain science and the science around that? But in that, the larger activity that we can recognize is this what we call a celebration. What happens after dark when the hunters came home with the hunt they fell, or you had a successful finding lots of fruit this day, lots of nuts. After dark, how do we celebrate this small victory, a large victory together? Doing all kinds of stuff, and this is what we've been doing throughout our human history. At campfire, we celebrated. Today, our modern campfire for many people are binge watching Netflix in the sofa after the hard days of work. Is this a kind of celebration we need more or less of? I don't know. Storytelling is important. We have to have the awareness and discussion around this. And I also like during the last, let's say, 50 years, there's the genre that's growing all over the world that started like small dancing around the campfire, and later we evolved in playing better and more kinds of music and all the dancing and everything. But today we have big music festivals. This is enormous festivals of celebration where people from all over the world gather together to listen to their favorite band. It can be a rock festival, it can be a pop festival, it can be a dance festival, or it can be a rave, the large Tomorrowland, all the hardstyles and trance festival in Belgium, Holland, Germany, and all over the world are part of this enormous celebration festival. Burning Man is a type of celebration in itself around this. But we have to be aware of what we call the campfire activities, what we do when we celebrate the fruits of our labor, or at late night. I think I haven't read much about it, but I have very strong feelings about that we alter our states of mind and being after dark. That when it comes dark around this campfire, we take forth different behavioral patterns and thought patterns inside our brain that I call the campfire mindset. That now it's time to share stories and sit down and be close to each other, celebrate loveful, or do all kinds of sexual activities has been a part of today's society, at least after dark activities in some way. So, but this is something we want to explore much further as well as the human species, all the celebration and campfire activities, the campfire mindset. I myself, some 30% of all human beings are night persons, some 30% is a morning person, and 40% is something in between. But I'm an extreme night person. I can keep up late night at this, and I think much of it is that we have artificial lighting now for electric light, and before that we had the firelights of candles and campfires and gas lamps and stuff like that. But also part of me exploring, I think this is as a night person, I'm the one who take the night SWAT. I watch the fire at night to keep the tribe safe while they're sleeping. And then when it's starting getting late in the night, I go to sleep, and the morning person takes over watching the tribe together. So I don't know if there is any truth to this theory. I've read a lot about it and tried to read a lot about it. I haven't found any good sources of information around it. So if you have anything of that, please share with me. Stuff like that. So. Now we go to storytelling. I talked about before. Number 9, storytelling, narration, attention, amplification. So we human beings, we're basically what Terry Pratchett called pan-narrans, the storytelling ape. So we're not Homo sapiens yet. We are apes who tell stories. And if we want to become Homo sapiens, the wise human, we have a lot of way to go, but we won't escape the storytelling part, because it's such a fundamental part of being human. We love stories. We love inner narrations, and part of it, why we love it so much, I think, is that stories are patterns. It's meta patterns of smaller patterns, and our brain is an organ that organizes a lot of the activity inside the brain is matching patterns. I have several stored patterns in my memory, and when I see something before me, like a smartphone, my brain compares my memory of a smartphone with a pattern that my eyes tells me to see before me, and it says, yes, this is a smartphone. You can pick it up and you can use it. This is a simple phone, but I match patterns, and my brain matches millions of patterns every second. Many of them are internal patterns that we call thoughts and dreams and stuff like that. And some of them are external patterns that we get for a sensory input, sight, hearing, smell, taste, and stuff like that. And in that, the brain is enjoying matching patterns. And then the brain discovered that you can match meta patterns that we will now call, and meta patterns that we will call stories and movies and fairy tales and stuff like that. And the brain likes that very much, to match meta patterns. That's why we binge watch Netflix at night. That's why we gather around a fire in the campfire activities to hear the storyteller tell a story or a fairy tale or something like that. That unified the tribe, and we also enjoy the process itself. And we have used stories for thousands of years to transfer knowledge and morality and cultural cohesion in the tribe. So we use stories to transfer cultural cohesion and morality and behavioral patterns within the tribe. What's okay to do and what's not okay to do to ourselves, to each other, and other people and other tribes as well. And that's and nowadays people think storytelling is some form of mindless, dumbless entertainment that Hollywood does for us in movies and TV series. It was never that, and it never was. And there's a fantastic book called The Storytelling Animal by Jonathan Gottschall that I recommend to everyone that explores what is storytelling and stuff like that. And Terry Pratchett have written a lot about storytelling as well. And it comes back to what we talked about, motivation before. What is the narration and the behavioral patterns that I use to tell myself that now I'm going to do this, now I'm going to do that, and the internal narration and storytelling that goes on inside my brain to bring it all together. Who am I in this? Why do I do this? What do I choose to do today and tonight? Why am I sitting here in a mask talking to you about stuff that is all narration and patterns and stories inside my brain? I tell all the things I tell you now is stored as stories inside my brain that I can retell to you using words. That is a process, is a thing in itself, language and words. And then we also have what we call attention economy. What do I pay attention to? How can I multitask, or can I only pay attention to a single thing at the same time? That's also part of the internal process of the brain. What does my brain pay attention to? Am I deep in my daydreaming inside my brain, thinking my own thoughts and not taking in what you're doing, or I'm actively listening to you, paying attention to what you say, and learn and put pieces together what you're saying and doing. Woo-hoo. And in that, we talk a lot with me and Bertola about amplification. How do we amplify a story? How do we today it's very clear to see when a story becomes global, even through a viral mechanic on internet or a viral mechanic in society, or global stories like Corona is a global story now. Or if you go to YouTube and search for the most played YouTube video, you will find Despacito, that is a global story, 6.6 billion views. It's not 6.6 billion people, but there's many people have seen it many times, but there can also be many people who have seen it together. So we don't exactly know exactly how many people have seen Despacito, but it's the largest global digital story we have today, except for maybe Corona, that maybe everyone has heard of. But that's not a single story. That's a complex stories of thousands of stories weaved together. But Despacito is a single story. Everyone who sees Despacito sees the exact thing, but inside ourselves, Despacito triggers internal narration and stories. So if I love the song Despacito and you do not, the same story, external story, triggers different internal stories and emotion inside ourselves, and amplifies that. So there's a lot of thinking and awareness we have to have around storytelling, amplification, narration, inner and outer narrations, and what's mass media have done for our society today, amplifying all the wrong stories, fear, hate, and stuff that we humans are naturally drawn to, but thanks to amplification mechanics of mass media, we are now totally consumed by and doing a very bad work. And other global stories, of course, the superhero movies that I'm a fan of. I'm wearing a mask here because I'm a big superhero movie fan. I love Avengers, Iron Man, and all that stuff. And I love comics as young. I love the superhero narration. I don't know why, but there's something enticing in it. And that's why I celebrate stories like that, of course. And there's a lot of internal and emotional turmoil that goes on inside of me when I watch a movie and watch a story, like The Matrix or Ghost in the Shell, or favorite movies like me like this. I can talk for hours on this, but we will go to the next category here that I call flow states and the hive mind. Flow states and the hive mind. So what is that? I've been aware of flow states and hive mind my entire life, most of my adult life, but the most profound experience was reading the first book, The Righteous Mind, by Jonathan Haidt in 2013 or something. I read that 2012, 2013. And lately in 2017, Stealing Fire came out. It's called flow states and hive mind. And what is it that goes on inside a brain that we goes into flow? Flow is a combination when the challenge and your matching skills to tackle and handle this channel matches in a perfect combination. When you go into very good flow, it can be anything you do: dancing, working, reading, binge watching story, Netflix, or gaming, board gaming, online computer gaming. We go into a state of mind where we forget time and room and everything around us. If we go into really deep flow, what is it that triggers inside the main that we can do this, and how do we explore that further? Because in the deep, what they explore in the book Stealing Fire is, of course, the extreme sports genre of this. And they also explore what Navy SEALs is now experimenting with in this. They have something that they call flipping the switch. That's been a phenomenon they discovered a long time ago, that they have to, at the beginning, for many years, they had to screen people who was very good at flipping the switch, but now they're starting to explore is that how can we train people in flipping the switch. And this is what they call a state of being where a SEAL team on a mission can make decisions without speaking to each other. They don't know what it is, but somehow they're connected. The consciousness in people who go into have this very good at this ability becomes connected. And to me, this occurs when I do very heavy dancing or raving or stuff like that. I go into very heavy flow states when I become exalted and I experience waterfall moments and stuff like that. And there's something going on there that we can't explain, but if we given the ability, we can explore together as human beings in the coming decades and stuff. What is going on here? What is the consciousness we experience during this high mind or flipping the switch states in our mind? And this is so profound. So this, I think, this is entitled to a category itself, because if we can explore this further and discover what it is, it will change us as humans forever. So maybe we won't go into. A lot of people say that we will have an AI and singularity in the future, but if we go down this path instead and discover how much more we have to learn about becoming more human, this is a path I much rather we enjoy and explore together as human beings, flow states and the hive mind. Yes, and now category 11, humor, playfulness, and silliness. This is, of course, could be a small category in another one, but this is so important to me, and I think this is also something that's very important to us humans, because humor, playfulness, and silliness, it goes into other categories we talked about before, about behavioral patterns and stuff like that, and celebration and stuff. But humor and silliness is something so profound. It's also, I know we think that some other mammals can laugh and enjoy humor, but we don't really know. I'm not an expert in this, so if you are, please enlighten me. But at least as far as I see in it, it's in this state we develop. We go back to curiosity that I mentioned in part now. Silliness and playfulness is very connected to creativity and curiosity, but it's also its own category, because it's how we stay sane in the world. If life wasn't fun and silly and humorous, it would be too boring to go on. Maybe we become mindless robots without any humor at all. I don't want to think that, and this is why I do silly things like wearing a mask as well. So for me, this is a very important part of life in the human endeavor that we also want to explore further. All of us likes a good laugh, and then we can go into laughing. I know there's people doing laughing therapy and laughing sessions together, and that's a very positive and profound effect on human health and human psyche and everything. So, and that this is also things we can explore much further as in the human endeavor of becoming more human. And part 12 done. That's what I call the new roles and crew member identity. So if we're gonna evolve ourselves and evolve society, we have to do things in a new way, and that means developing new roles and behavioral patterns and narration. We go into inner and outer narration and behavioral science as well. But yeah, playing as an adult today, many of us are defined by what I do, what I work with, my job title. When we introduce ourselves, many of us here in the Western world, at least, we introduce ourselves with our job title. So we are very, in our current state and form, we are very focused on titles and narration and the roles we play. And of course, I am a father to my children. And so father is a role I play, and it's an eternal role that I in some way can define for myself, but it's also an external role, what's expected to me by society, by my spouse as a father. What am I supposed to do in my role as a father? That's culturally engaged, it's societal engaged, it's in some cases written in law. What are you allowed and not allowed to do as a father or a mother in that role you play? And then the different roles we play, we can a friend is a role we play. And then we can go into what many people are exploring for some do it full time. Like if you're an actor, you play roles. If you do role playing games, live action role playing, you explore different roles in various deepness in the role. There's some. If you're an actor, you can be a method actor when you totally immerse yourself in the role, or you can be the opposite, where you're very aware that you're just playing the role. So, and this goes also into live action role playing, and this also goes into the roles we play on a daily basis. I can become totally immersed of being a father, or I can keep an awareness around that now I do fatherly things, and I have to say this as a father, even if I want to say something else as a silly person and stuff like that. And this is also a very important part of being human, because if we're going to go into changing society and change ourselves, we have to invent and explore new roles we can play together. And that's what I love the quote by Buckminster Fuller. It says we have to become the crew members of Spaceship Earth. We have to play a new role, and in becoming a crew member, that's divided into millions of all different roles, but it's also an awareness of us that we play the role of the crew member here on Spaceship Earth. And that's why I play the role of Captain Future. This is a self-given role that I've been exploring for the last couple of years to see what is it when you invent a new role that no one has done before. There was no Captain Future before me. It's a made-up role, but the role is put together of different behavioral patterns and old roles and new roles, and it all come together in a playful, silliness way, just to explore what is it to play a new role in society that hasn't been played before. And that's why me and Bertola gave a long talk about the role of the weaver and the navigator and the connector before. So this is also a new role that some of us are already been playing for many years, but we have to have a lot more awareness around, and we have to have I think we have to make this role very official, so that every city, every organization has a navigator or a weaver employed that has the dedicated role of navigating a complex society. So we can help. This person is there to help all other people doing their work and connect them to the knowledge and the other people they need to collaborate around the world. And people have been doing, if you work in a field today, you of course spend part of your time connecting what other people do. You read up, you do lifelong learning, you evolve your role, but you don't do that full time, because then you're not doing your role. So large parts of your role today is actually doing the things you do. But then we can have the dedicated role, people just helping other people to do what they do, I think. And as society becomes so much more complex, so much information, so much knowledge, so much data, so much information out there. So today's society is way more complex than it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, or 30 years ago. And who can keep track on everything that's going on in society? It will require millions of people doing this full time to even can keep track of a small part of what's going on in society. So I think it's very profound moving into the future. Actually start training and employing these people who do this navigating full time. So that's my 12 categories of the human endeavor. If you think that it could be organized differently, or if I missed something, or I put too much emphasizing on something like humor and silliness, you're welcome to come up with your 12 or 15 or 10, whatever you like, point model of what you think the human endeavor is and what is included and what we can group together. And because grouping things together is making a pattern, and that's what our brain does. So why do we have listed categories with this like this? Because this is what our brain does. It's part of being human. We categorize everything, like I said before. This is a hand, this is a body, this is a screen, this is a microphone. I constantly categorize things and put pattern match and put things in categories. That is a snake, and that is an apple. I can eat the apple, but I should be aware of the snake and stuff like that. That's part of being a mammal and being alive. So that's why I categorize things like this, because it's part of being alive and being a human, to put things in groups and categorize things so we can easier navigate and make sense of what all things are. So that's why I created a list like this, to make sense of the whole concept of being human. That's something I spend long hours by myself and together with other people talking about all this subject. So, and I will be very glad to spend the rest of my life exploring this concept of both being a navigator and exploring the human endeavor in some way, shape, or form. So if you want to help me do this, you want to do it together with me, or you know a way for me to do this, or you do this and other people to do this, let's talk more about this. This is why I do this broadcast, to talk about what I think is important in this. So I hope this makes fairly good sense. I have been talking for an hour now, non-stop about this, my favorite subject. Yes. The human adventure, the human quest, the human endeavor, the human concept, the human. What is it to be human in an age like this? Especially in an age like this, now that Corona is going around. How do we keep our humanity? Some people say. How do we stay alive in an age like this, and not sell our souls and whatever story narration you can come up in explaining what we do. I don't know if I'm going to talk much longer. I think I will be talking for half an hour more, then I will go to bed. And then at 7 a.m. Swedish Central European time, Stellan will be here with Sadaf talking about SDG Hackathon Pakistan or something like that. So I will keep it up half an more hour. So what more should we talk about? One thing that is part of celebration, I mentioned music festival. So music is one of humanity's greatest invention, and some say that recordable music is one of our greatest invention ever, because by recording music we can save it, and we can reconsume music throughout the ages. So the music we started recording digitally in this century will be around forever for humans to consume, just like the stories. I think stories like the TV series and the movies, many of them will we will lose interest in many of the stories we tell today in 100 years from now. But some of the music we record today will still have an emotional impact 100 years to come. So that's why music have a different historical art than other types of stories. So I think this is important as well. And music trigger us emotionally, and we use music to dance to. I love to dance, and I love to listen to music, and I love a lot of different genres of music. And that's also a whole subject and conversation in itself. What types of genres of music are there? How many more can we invent or categorize? There's a fantastic project online that's called the Music Catalog or something. Let's see what we have here. Electric Music Guide. It's called techno.org, Electric Music Guide. There's a guy who 1999 or 97 put together a website that he tried to collect all the electronic music and genres that existed back then, and now he expanded it to a lot more. I think it's 97 different genres of electronic music. And how many subgenres and groupings can you do? And there's a listening example of everything you do to that. So if you search for Electronic Music Guide, there's a Wikipedia page on it as well. You can find this interesting experience of categorizing in subgenres, just electronic music, and then you put all other types of music on top of that. It becomes a very interesting project, and pattern match and put and organize, and what I said before, like we like to organize everything and put categories on everything we do, even music then, of course. And music also triggers what we talked about, the flow states and stuff like that before. So music is very important human invention that we have to have a lot more important conversation about. Music can lift our mood, or it can put our into sad music can help us navigate sad emotions, and music can trigger all kinds of emotional responses in itself. And we go into emotion. I haven't talked about too much emotion. There's a fantastic book by Lisa Feldman Barrett that sums up some 200 meta studies on the brain and emotions that's been done during the latest couple of years all over the world. And the book is called How Emotions Are Made, The Secret Life of the Brain. It's a fantastic book that puts everything we know about emotion on hold and reframes it. So many, fear, love, hate, and basic emotion like that, they are not a single emotion. They're very complex patterns, and my experience of fear is different from your experience of fear, even if there are many very common points about this, but they occur at different places of the brain. And the more names we can put to different kinds of emotion, the better our brains become of subcategorizing them and reframing and reorganizing music like that. So. So emotional response, music and emotions, two very important things. We have to talk a lot about more. We explore, because we are emotional beings, and much of the stupid things we do to ourselves and our society due to emotions. And people think emotions is something bad. It's not. Emotion is part of being human. We are not, emotion are not separate from us. All our thinking is done in emotion. Emotions is how the brain makes sense of what's going on inside itself and outside in the world. So emotions are the cognitive mapping of sensory inputs. So we use emotions to navigate everything. So emotions are not separate from our cognitive rational mind. They're part of everything we do in life. And we have become much more better at navigating our own and other people's emotions. So we can explore this thing much further. There's some fantastic lectures online on YouTube. If you can search for Lisa Feldman Barrett, How Emotions Are Made. Lisa Feldman Barrett. So go look that up. I'm very fascinated in this. I'm not I'm not in any way an expert in my own emotion and navigating them, but thanks for her book, and a lot of the last 3 years I've been exploring this much further as Captain Future, and we're glad you have a good conversation or find out more people who are exploring this further now in the light concept of this book. Still, it's not a well-known book. It's not like Yuval Noah Harari's book Sapiens, but I think it's perhaps an even more important book than Sapiens that many more people should read to actually get an awareness of what this emotion inside our brain. Woo. So I wear my Captain Future mask tonight because I talked about superheroes and silliness and narration and a lot of role playing and identities. That's why I wear a mask, just to highlight that even by a simple act like putting a mask on, I can myself play a different role than I usually do. And the best example of this is all kinds of occupations that has a uniform. When you put the uniform on, you enforce the role you're playing inside the uniform. Of course, classical like doctor, police, military, fireman, baker, and stuff like that. But also businessman. Most people today wear a suit and a tie, and that's a business uniform. That signalizes that you're important, because business is the most important role we play in today's society. So the uniform of the business persons becomes very important. So if you don't wear the uniform of a business person and try to do business, you're not serious about business. And it's something I want to challenge a lot. So a lot of people nowadays don't wear the business suit, but there's many people who do. Why is that? And why do men wear the same business suit, but women are very much more flexible? This wasn't the case couple of hundred years ago when men wear lots of different clothes and stuff like that, and that was just a small elite. Most people in societies all over the world wear very plain clothes, so now uniforms and all. But we all know that how we project ourselves in the world has been a large part of humanity for many thousands of years. We have used clothes, we have used the piercing, we have used the tools to express how we are in the world, and that's something what the movie Matrix made very clear to me when they spoke about the term they call residual self-image. How do I choose to digitally manifest myself inside the digital matrix? What clothes? How do I look? And they, of course, in the movie Matrix, they all look cool in their dark clothes and sunglasses and stuff like that. But I can choose to project myself with my silly hair, mask like this, my Captain Future clothes. That's my uniform, the role I play, and how I project myself in the world. I don't have tattoos. I have many friends who have tattoos. I choose them not for some reason. They don't attract me, but for many people, they express themselves by the permanent inking and marking they do on their bodies. And I have lots of friends who wear all kinds of piercing and nose rings and all stuff like that. That's also a way of expressing your identity for the patterns and the things you do on your body. So I don't know what category in the 12 categories this should be in this role playing. How do we explain? Yeah, maybe we can bunch it together there in some way, or should we add another category about this? I don't know. But for some people, identity markers like tattoos and clothes and piercing are very important, and hair and hairstyle. And throughout human history, hats and clothes has been very important to signal social style, then your occupation and stuff like that, or just standing out in a crowd or fitting in a crowd. What do you want to express with everything, your physical appearance? Very, very fascinating subject in itself. And I thought that if you walked into a newspaper store a couple of years ago, I don't know how it is now, but it probably still is the same. 90% of all the magazines there are fashion magazines. So this fashion is a way of expressing this very human and being part of being human. How do you express yourself through clothes? And very fascinating subject that millions of people spend their entire lives either working with fashion or just being consumed reading about fashion or buying fashion. And the fashion industry and the clothes industry are one of the world's largest industries for a reason, because it's not something, of course it's an amplified behavior patterns being aware of, but it wouldn't be, the fashion industry wouldn't be so big if it wasn't something innate in ourselves, thinking about fashion. And most of the fashion industry is directed to women somehow, but most of the men fashion industry, we all look the same in our business uniform. Not all of us. I wear a t-shirt. My t-shirt, it says, you can see it says Michael, Future Navigators, Captain Future, Michael Sillion. So this is also, I choose to have a marked t-shirt where I express something extra in my fashion choice of a white t-shirt or something like that. And this is such a long discussion. This is a lifetime discussion for some people who are fashion experts. I'm not like I said, I'm not an expert, but I dabble in all things, and I'm fascinated in talking about all concepts of being human. So that's why I talk about that as well. I will give this 10 more minutes. What else? Yes, I'm thinking from the Star Wars mug. And Star Wars is a global story, one of the largest one. And many people all over the world, at least in the Western context, are aware of a story called Star Wars, or Star Trek, the smaller part. Star Wars is space fantasy, and Star Trek is science fiction, and that's a whole discussion in itself. But things like that, many people, especially in the geek world where I come from, express their love for different kinds of stories. It can be now Game of Thrones, Star Wars, Star Trek, Marvel superheroes, Batman, Superman, that the DC superheroes. Many of us recognize this global symbols for different kinds of stories. And I've seen this quote everywhere in society as well. Always be yourself, unless you can be Batman, then be Batman. It's a play on stories and stuff like that as well. So that's very fascinating subject in itself. And on my mug it says hand shot first. So this is a sub hand shot first. It's mirrored here, but this is a geek discussion if Han or Greedy shot first in the first Star Wars movie. And this is a sub context of the story that is, for some people, we are very aware of what this quote means. And for some people hearing this for the first time, they have no idea what this sentence means. And that goes back to what I talked about earlier with Bertola about quotes and stories. I collect a lot of good quotes, and I have a lot of quotes in my head. Quotes is a expression pattern of itself, and it's connected to what we call poetry. Poetry is an art form that is connected to music lyrics. That is connected to storytelling itself, so all intertwined. And one of my favorite parts of the book I mentioned before, the storytelling animals, is that there's a poet sitting in a bar, very depressed, saying that nobody likes poetry anymore. Poetry is a dead art form, and the bartender said something like this. But have you listened to modern music? Poetry is bigger than ever. It just has transformed from the classical form of poetry into what we now experience in the music industry. And many of us find deep meanings in musical lyric text, because a good lyrics in a song can be interpreted in many ways, and that's what makes it poetry. When the message in a song can be interpreted in many ways and have a personal meaning for us. So modern poetry is music lyrics, and the modern poets then are the lyric and the text writers in music. And that's so lyrics, poetry, storytelling, quotes, it's all connected, all parts of different types of storytelling and narration going on inside our brain. And I love collecting good quotes. I have some fair amount of notes on my computer where I have all kinds of quotes from different people and links to the quotes. And there are there's some good homepages on the internet where you can Google quotes, and there's of course a whole meme around who said what going on. You can actually fact check. Did this person actually say this? Is this in some cases, if I quote the French philosopher in English, it's translated, so not the original quote. Is it right to do that? Or should we keep all quotes in the original language? Then we have, like, if we quote someone speaking Latin, should we keep the original Olia Iacta Est quote, or should we translate it? It's a whole subject in itself, quotation. But quotes are mini memes, some mini stories about important things to keep in mind to navigate our life and navigate society. And I think we should put a lot more attention to the quote part of narration and stories as well, because that moves us further as humans as well. Some of the best quotes gets us out of bed in the morning and keeps us going throughout the day. If they remind us why we do the things we do, especially in my bubbles of change makers, there's a lot of positive quotes around change making and stuff like that keeps our going, or keeps our narration going. I mentioned Buckminster Fuller and his quote becoming crew member of Spaceship Earth, and that single quote made me become Captain Future. So a single quote like that defined a large part of my adult life during the last couple of years. So that's a fascinating subject in itself. Do you have any quotes that define your life more or less, or any music lyrics or text like that, or any movie or TV series that defines you? Please contact me in any way, and we can discuss this further, or you can be a guest Captain Future Show, host your own podcast talking about the subject like this. It fascinates me so much. Whew. I think it's near 6 o'clock, so we will go off air for an hour because now my 6 a.m. and my brain is fried. I've been talking a lot about important stuff here, and it was so funny talking to all of you. So I think the website will go dark for an hour. I don't stop the streaming in some way, and we will come back online 7 a.m. where Stella, we need you set off on Hack for Pakistan. And thanks for staying with us. I will do this on Saturday night and Sunday night as well. Maybe if I have the audacity and the stamina to do it. I love doing stuff like this. Do I have more important stuff to talk about or delve deeper into different subjects? I have so much more things I can talk about. Oh, this is a pleasant experience doing things like this. So I think I leave you there, and I will do the hard sign because this is a Zoom call as well. We will learn thumbs ups and hard signs and signs like that everyone has to be aware of when doing Zoom calls all around the clock, all over the globe now. Suddenly everyone is doing Zoom calls. So bye everyone, and this is good night for me, or maybe it's good morning for you if you're catching this early. Depending where you are in the world, of course. We are in the global world with time zones are different all over the world as well. So let's see. Good night, everyone. I will now stop live stream.